Hey everyone, Joy Brooks with Email and Coffee. I'm talking today to Matias Högnabba, whose name I've just learned to say, and I'll let him tell a little bit about himself and perhaps correctly pronounce his own name.
Well, Joy, you pronounced my name good. I think for a first timer or so. So uh, not much to improve in terms of what language differences. But the Finnish way to spell my name is Matias Högnabba, and like. To shortly introduce myself, I am a decision making consultant. So that means I have my own business and I help individuals to make big life event decisions. But I also help organizations to improve their decision making processes. And my background is in chemical engineering. And I have also studied some anthropology in the university. So that's shortly about myself, and over to you, Joy.
Um, Decision making is, you think when you hear the word decision making, your mind goes to procrastinating. And, that's sort of the process that humans go through to make decisions. And sometimes procrastination serves a purpose because you're thinking something through. And sometimes procrastination is just the inability to make decisions. And our lives are so cluttered that we can give a half a dozen reasons why we don't decide to do one thing or the other, or don't decide to do anything at all. And it can be a problem because it's hard to decide. It's hard to think what is the most important decision, which in a priority of life, business, etc. What comes first? And a lot of people have that problem consistently. And even so at work, when given a list of things to do or knowing your responsibilities at work, you may find it difficult to prioritize. So tell us a little bit about this concept of decision making. Do you like it? Do you like to call it lean decision making? Or, I mean, tell us a little bit about your process.
Well, like you can call it lean decision making in a way, or like it depends from which angle you look at it. But like in terms of lean, and I mean the lean principle is kind of applied in a way that you try to, if I talk about individuals in this case, you try to align their values, their priorities, goals, dreams, and so forth in the decision they are making. So basically, you try to include as much valuable things in the decision you are trying to make, and you exclude the not so important things, or like the uh, low priorities. Uh, so, but like if I think about the what is the core of decision making, and that is actually information processing. So if we want to be lean, we try to eliminate as much clutter and what we don't need really as much as possible. So if I want to make a lean decision, or a decision that brings as much value to the person making the decision, or thinking about making that move, then you want to uh, take into account and into consideration those things that add value. So going back to the lean, so in lean, you want to only include in the process those steps that add value. So, I mean, if you want to make the best possible decision for yourself, you only take those things with you that add value to your life. Okay, that is not always possible, like for 100%, but that's the goal. What I have with my clients, to get as much value to the new situation as much as possible, and like depending on the case, of course, but I mean, I use a process or framework that I'm basing on science, and it's a seven-step process, and you always start with defining what you are deciding about. Like when you are solving a problem, you start with defining what problem are you solving. So that's the starting point. And then you make a little analysis of your current situation. What's the positive size? What like actually add value to your life? And what's the negative size or the negative consequences of your current situation that take away value, basically? And then you go through your priorities, values, your goals, dreams, and the fifth step is actually what possibilities do you have, or potential, what you can do, but you may not be aware of these things, and what are the limitations, what you cannot do. It might be that you can, for instance, add a possibility to your arsenal by taking a short course, for example. So you have educating yourself, adding more skills to your bag. And then the sixth and seventh steps, they are about evaluating the options and finding out what is the best option to take, or what is the most suitable option to take in your position. It might be that in theory or in paper, the best solution or option might not be the best in reality, because there are always some limitations and aspects that make it that it might not work as good as in theory. So you must always remember a reality as well when you make moves in your life. But like, this is the process in brief, and yeah. So the goal is to help the client having as much valuable things in his or her life as possible when
So
making
I
a
immediately have a question. Immediately have a question.
yeah.
Immediately. So sometimes business decisions, sometimes, I'm not all the times, but sometimes business decisions are easier to make than personal decisions, right? So, and that brings in the emotions, that brings in compassion, that brings in, all sorts, every single, anger, fear, all of those. I mean, you may be afraid to make a decision at work, but essentially you've got a deadline and you've got these projects that all need to be completed within deadline. And it's pretty simple. Well, this is the deadline. So I've got to get this done because it's due tomorrow. I got to get it done, head down, done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life, maybe you're trying to decide, is this person worth my time and effort? Is this person a friend? Um, am I in love with this person? Do I want to marry this person? Do I want to spend the rest of my life with this person? Should I scream at my child? Should I smile? What? These are all, as soon as you have individual personal decisions, they get all cluttered up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
And that's decision making is really put on the chopping
yeah.
block, as
Yeah.
do you have a good toolbox to make really good decisions?
I mean, mostly, I think in decision making, what determines the quality of the outcome is how much time you have at hand. If you are in a hurry, then you cannot expect very high quality decisions in terms of how much you took into consideration, or like. But like, you listed some things that can influence the decision you make, and like, the very important to notice is the emotions, as you mentioned. We are very emotional creatures and beings, and most of the decisions we make are based on emotions or reactions, if you will. So, but that on the other hand, uh, like, busts the myth of us being very rational beings, and but I mean that adds another level of difficulty making decisions, like, in the way that we want. And like, I mean, we want to have a very well thought through decisions, and um, we want to take into account a million of things, but that's hard for us. And I don't mean by that we are not capable of doing that, but it requires a lot of thought, but I mean energy. It takes energy to think, also to do research and make calculations, and you know evaluations between options, and so forth.
What
So
what do you suggest, or what recommendations do you give to people who might be attempting to make a personal emotional decision? For example, um, I've just met this guy. I've been dating this woman for a while, and I want to marry her.
yeah, I mean, the love affairs and this kind of things are, like you said, very emotionally charged, and when we are very emotionally kind of overwhelmed, or like in a very emotional state, it makes it very hard to see clear, or like objectively, and if you find yourself in a very emotional state, you are maybe like very sad or angry or whatever, then I suggest do not make any big decision in that state. Wait until you have calmed down, and you are in a peaceful surrounding, and a peaceful state, and also you have time to think and reflect your thoughts. So that is understandable. That if you are in love with somebody, or you are very very highly like yeah, I lost the thought here, but anyway, but if you are like very very much involved in another person, let's say that way, so it can be very hard to kind of get away from that state, because the hormones are taking over your thinking, or so. And I mean, if you think about marrying a person, then I would strongly suggest that you are not in a hurry. You have time to think and see if that is really what you want. There's practically no reason to hurry that decision. So take your time and use that option. And if you are in a relationship or something for a longer period of time with somebody, then the initial emotional overwhelm will stabilize. So you might be able to make bigger decisions related to your relationship in a little bit more neutral manner. So my best tip is to take it easy and slow. Do not hurry or rush.
It's sort of reaching a balance, some sort of a homeostasis balance, something where you're not being driven one way or the other. So if you're in love and it's all, oh, wonderful, and I can't wait to sweep her into my arms, and etc. Or I hate this person, I just want to stab them, I can't stand them. Reaching some sort of a balance. Now, do you have suggestions in getting into that headspace? Because you can easily, a person who is not able to make decisions generally is somebody that is constantly their life is so full of things, or they haven't learned how to step by step make a decision. You know,
I mean, this is
should I move? Oh my God, I don't know. And then they don't make the decision. And perhaps it's an important decision. Perhaps it's a decision that a job, for example. You've been offered a job. You've got a good job. You've been offered another job, but that job is in a different place, right? And you don't have a lot of time to make the decision. Maybe you have a week. So you've been offered a job, move, and move away from family, friends, everything, or stay. And now your emotions are involved, right? You're a little bit of fear, a little bit of challenge, excitement, and in some cases, well, in most cases, people are going to make that decision one way or the other, because obviously there's an offer on the table. They're either going to say yes or no. But how would you tell somebody how to make a quality decision and begin to learn how to make those quality decisions over time? Because obviously the skill is transferable. It goes across the board. At some point in time, your life becomes less chaotic. You don't go for drama.
Yeah. I mean, if you are in a hurry and you are unsure, then I strongly advise, if you have a friend or somebody you can trust in their opinion, and you believe that they have some knowledge of the decision you are about to make, talk to them, consult them, and do not be alone. There is no need or reason to think about these things alone. And I believe that we humans, we too often try to do things alone. I mean, it is kind of obvious that if you join forces with somebody, you are stronger together. So this is basically what my concept and work is based on. I offer an outsider's help to see things from another angle. Okay, I have the knowledge of decision making too, but I think most importantly is to offer the external view and kind of a neutral view as well, because I have no ties to the matter being discussed. I have no ties to my client, so I can offer a more neutral and less emotional view and kind of opinion as well, or guidance, maybe even better to describe it in that way.
It
Yeah,
goes to say that you should think about who your friends are. That as you're building a life around you, the people around you, to use your term, need to. I mean, they're your friends, and they're
yeah,
humans, but they should offer some value, and you offer them value. That is not just a harsh way of thinking of friends, but it is really, having a drinking buddy does not make a friend. Right?
no,
That
no,
may be your friend, but odds
yeah,
are that's a drinking buddy. And that's okay.
yeah.
That's okay.
You can have all kinds of friends.
All kinds of friends, exactly. And so, having a group of people, or, as you get older, the, it's not quantity, it's quality. So, having somebody that thick or thin, and it could be family member, it could be a friend, whatever, near and dear to you, that's high value. That's very high value.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so bouncing ideas off of that person, and that makes a lot of sense. You can't always make decisions on your own. Some decisions, obviously, you will, but in many cases, a sounding board, as you said, a neutral sounding board is very important.
Yeah, I mean, like, you cannot have all the knowledge in the world by yourself, and in that sense, you are quite vulnerable. But also, I mean, if you want to become better at making decisions, you want to become more knowledgeable, you have to be humble enough to ask for help also. And I mean, yeah, there is a saying that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I mean, that sums the essence of having friends and a network pretty well.
Yeah, we're not, humans are really not meant to be alone. I mean, that this concept of the tribe is
Mm.
really hardwired into us.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be a million megacity, you know. It can be a small village. It can perhaps offer everything that you need. And also, I was thinking about this here and another day this week, actually. If living in a big city is good for us, or do we even need basically to have big cities? I'm like you said, humans want to be near other humans, but like if you think about a big city, uh, I mean, you have lots of strangers around you, and you can only know that much or that many people. The less, the rest is just like they are strangers. So I mean, and then if you live in a high house or so in a city, you are squeezed to a tiny box, like a prison cell. Or so I mean, yeah, it depends, of course, what you like, what you want from life. But I mean, you can do with surprisingly little to be happy and thrive in your life, basically.
And when you say that, I think about people that like to fill their lives with things,
Mm,
right? So um, they make they make a decision
yeah.
to make a lot of money because that's what they want. They want to make a lot of money because they want a lot of stuff, and they
Mm,
get a lot of stuff. And whether they, travel and they're lean, but they're traveling a lot of places, or if they settle down and they've got a lot of stuff in the places, the purpose of their life is to make money
mm,
to accommodate a particular lifestyle.
yeah.
And that's a decision. And I wonder to myself um, how much that becomes a trap. In other words, I need to make a certain amount of money for my lifestyle to
Mm,
support a lifestyle that I want.
mm, mm.
And that seems to be pretty popular.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that decision is a trap.
It might be. Uh, I mean, of course, it depends, as everything depends. But it depends what kind of lifestyle you have. Uh, but I mean, yeah, sure. Like if your lifestyle is very expensive, then it puts lots of pressure on yourself in terms of income. You have to make a lot of money to be able to afford the lifestyle, kind of sustain it. Uh, but like in the end, what matters the most is to be able to sustain your living first and foremost. Uh, and I mean, yeah, like in the modern world, we have a lot of things and materia around us, and we have. I mean, I guess the best example of the modern days is the cell phone. You have it everywhere, and somebody have it all the time in their hand. And but like I mean, we have become very attached to having uh, things uh, made of different kind of raw materials and so around us and on us, also clothes, and so uh, I mean, thinking from a lean perspective here, uh, there's too much around in terms of technology, and so a lot of that is what we don't actually need in order to be able to survive or having a decent life. Because, I mean, very simple inventions and tech can make lots of things much easier than doing them manually. But we don't have to. We don't necessarily have to have very high tech. I mean, that is just. I think we have become very spoiled, kind of. We want to have it very comfortable. We are very lazy.
But we also always want more.
Yeah,
And that's, it becomes somewhat of an addiction where,
yeah,
I've got a phone, I've got a laptop, oh, I need a tablet. What about a
yeah,
watch? I need, and it keeps on
yeah.
growing.
It's kind of a vicious circle.
It is. It's a vicious circle. And you think, I mean, I have all these things, so I'm guilty, guilty. But
Yeah.
I think to myself, um, I've made a bunch of decisions, so they're done. I'm really at a point in my life where I'm living the result of those decisions. Have to make some more decisions, but I've got a good amount of experience behind me of decision making. But earlier in life, I didn't make very good decisions. Earlier in life, when the decisions came, I really didn't understand
Mhm.
the result of which, didn't
Yeah,
know how far they were going to take me. And I think that in many cases, I'm not saying that today there are more decisions to make than before, because in every single generation, the life was complex, built upon that
yeah,
time, that
yeah,
environment, the peoples, the places. So today's decisions are different but the same. So
yeah.
um,
Mm.
sort of what I'm saying is that the impact of decisions are like ripples. Now we're going to get poetic. Are like ripples in time,
Yeah.
and 30 years from the point you make the decision, it's still rippling out.
Mm.
It's still rippling out, and
Yeah.
um, it's not that you need to not make decisions because they're going to ripple out,
Mm.
but you need to make a decision and be aware, or say to yourself, I need to learn from the decision, and I need to be able to maybe turn it around on a dime. Like, I made a decision. It was really good for 20 years. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, humans like to sorry,
It's
uh, stay on the chosen path. So making a change is very hard for humans, and there are a bunch of reasons why that is. But I mean, uh, the change making is also about adapting. And if your life situation change, you should be able to change with it. So adapting to the new situation, or like adapting to your needs at that moment. You might need something when you are 20. Your needs are a bit different when you're 50 or 60. So uh, and I mean, you can hope and pretend that you're still 20, but I mean, that might not be very,
I look at myself, I'm still 20 until I really look at myself and I'm like, oh, when did that happen?
yeah, but it might not be the best way of seeing life and yourself, because you are probably neglecting some aspects that are not true anymore, and you need to adapt and make your life and what is around you more suitable for your current state of mind and your physics, your body, and so. I mean, life is not like it changes all the time. It fluctuates. It's not linear. So you need to be able to adapt. And I mean, that is one of the best sides of human. Human is very adaptable because we have the ability to make technology and think and so forth, and that has helped us a lot to adapt. I mean, human is absolutely not the kind of strongest. We are not very strong in muscle force. We are not very fast. We are not poisonous, or we cannot fly. We cannot die for very long in the water or so. So technology is our best asset, our weapon against the others in the nature. So, but I mean, adaptability, yeah, we already we can adapt, but adaptation is also a little bit complex, and I mean, adaptation does not usually happen without any external force or that forces you to make the adaptation. So there must be something that drives you in the corner, and you choose either to adapt or then you're gone. So I mean,
It's very true. Usually, humans don't make decisions unless they're forced to. So if their lives are okay, it's okay. It's okay. It can go okay for a really long time until it's
yeah.
no, this is the line. No, this is not okay. And then they make a decision.
Yeah, and I mean, adaptation also requires something from you, and it requires energy and effort to adapt to the new situation. You have to make something, some changes, maybe like build a new house or so. That requires lots of energy and other resources as well. So if you can avoid spending that energy or money on something, then you probably want to decide not to spend those resources on something if that is not truly necessary. So yeah, we like to wait and push things aside that we think are not important to address right now. And I mean, yeah, we want to stay in our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. We also we somewhat fool ourselves. So
Yeah.
we may convince ourselves that it's okay, and obviously it's mounting, and it hasn't been okay for a long time. But we say it's okay, and we're actually adapting to some escalation of something where
Yeah.
we are really waiting for it to snap. And
Yeah.
that's, I mean, that's what
Mm.
people who don't make decisions do. Or I don't want to say that because it makes it sound like they're right or wrong. So in a case, for example, you've got a friendship or you're in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay. It's okay until it's not okay. But then at the point where it's not okay, you look back and you say, it hasn't been okay for a really long time. What was I doing? And these are the things that make humans and decision making so difficult,
Yeah.
because we're compassionate.
Yeah.
And these days that word is thrown around so much. Everything is, oh, we're empathetic and compassionate. And we
Yeah.
act as if those are necessary or positive or exemplary are good. Exemplary, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
These are good virtues, and I'm not saying they're not, but I
Mm.
am saying that sometimes compassion gets in the way. And for example, you've got a son that's done something wrong, and you really need to discipline that child.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you want to be compassionate and empathetic, so you don't. And now this child assumes, oh, well, I got away with murder, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
And now you've got a criminal on your hands.
Yeah. I mean, when I prepared for this podcast, I actually was thinking about an example of a decision-making case, which kind of shows all kinds of of limitations and kind of how we like to think about something, what we expect from human, and so. I mean, okay, the example might not be the most nicest one, but it kind of illustrates what kind of can go wrong when we think about something in a certain way.
Go for it.
Okay, I actually wrote notes about it because there are so many things that I cannot remember otherwise. But to be clear, this is just an example and like does not base on anything, But like you or was you were into the criminal realm there already, so I will continue on that because my example is about a case example of a violent criminal offense, and so this conflict is obviously being solved by the justice system. So I'm not going to say any more details about this case because that don't need to go into any more details. This is just to set the frame.
Mm-hmm.
But what can go wrong, or what are the things that might waste something if we think about lean? So we can start with the biases, and some scientists have been able to identify something around 190 different cognitive biases in human, and maybe the most well-known name in this is an American psychologist called Daniel Kahneman. Yeah, and he's been dead something 50 years or so, but like he has been a very keen researcher on this subject. But in this particular case, example case, what different kind of biases might come into play for judges and other people involved. And I was going through my list of biases. I have a long list, and I have made my own comments in them. But I was able to identify 37 different biases that will for sure be possible to have in this kind of case, and that's a lot. 37 at least that might be involved. And like first impression, we rely very heavily on first impression, and that's speaking of making a change. The first impression is very hard to change, and the evidence against that impression needs to be very significant for us to change our mind. So that's a very important to keep in mind always when you're facing something new. And if the first impression is really the case, or if there might sometimes be things that make the first impression worse than the actual cases. So that's very important to keep in mind. Then you have the confirmation bias. You look for things that you that supports your views, opinions, so forth. Attention bias. You have a limited view in but you can see and understand and so forth. Availability, escape, backfire effect, base rate, neglect, and so forth. I will not go through all this, but there's many of these are related to the limited view you have and your own beliefs, your background, and your ability to process information. So these are quite, I wouldn't say obvious, but they definitely exist everywhere, every time, all the time. Sorry. So, looking at that list, that rings my bells very hard. There are so many biases that can kind of screw the whole thing. There might some things might be forgotten to take for judges to take in consideration. Something might be overlooked. Something might be misunderstood or perceived in a wrong way, or a lot of things that might go wrong just by thinking about the biases we have. And then we talk about the emotions. Absolutely, emotions can mess up the whole thing. And especially in a case that is likely to raise strong emotions across the board. Judges should be able to stay calm and so, but they are humans as well, and they feel something, even if they do not show that to the outside. So like already concluded, humans are not that rational when making decisions. So emotions have to play a very huge part always, anyway. And then if I think about the lean and what lean is about, reducing waste. So just having the valuable bits and pieces in the process. And then I was thinking about the 8 wastes of lean and how these wastes could be applied to this example. We start with the overproduction or overthinking, really, in this case. A very common tendency of human is overthinking, thinking too far or taking things too far or doing more than necessary. So that's the essential part of this waste, doing more than necessary. So applied to this case, overthinking can show as wishful thinking or desire to realize something that is practically impossible. And in criminal cases, in punishment also, this is very common. And I mean, I I try to be as neutral here, not like saying what is wrong or right here. But I mean, punishment per se is very ineffective of changing any behavior, and it does not turn time backwards. So we cannot reverse something that is done. So therefore, we might do something that is not necessary or is not working or very ineffective. The second is waiting. Criminal cases, or especially if they are about violence or something big and complex, they usually take very long. They can take months, years, even decades in some cases. This adds up costs also for the society, but also it costs for the suspect in terms of their valuable time in life, and takes away their possibility to be product, contribute to the society. So expensive. This is very expensive. Third one, transportation, maybe not applicable to this case. Then we have extra processing. And I mean, one example in this kind of case might be that there might be at least one round of appeal. So the case will be heard by many judges in several rounds, depending on the justice system you have in your country. But this adds up costs, waiting, and still it might not change the outcome. It might not make it better in terms of quality or righteousness. So that might also be unnecessary. Then you have inventory, kind of the same, but if you have people sitting in jail for a long time before the final verdict, that also costs money. It takes up space, so also expensive, and like also it puts quite a lot of pressure on the investigation police, and they might even run out of resources if there are lots of cases to be investigated. Then you have motion. Okay, not so much maybe in this case. Okay, police, they of course when they investigate, they also move around a lot and visit places that do not add value or knowledge to the case. Then you have defects. This is kind of back to the over extra processing. If there's appeals and so money is lost, time is lost, and perhaps in the worst cases, somebody who has been in prison for decades might at some day be found not guilty. Okay, how much time and money have we lost in that case? And the last one is non-utilized knowledge. And this refers to experts of different kinds. Usually they get heard, they have the opportunity to express their view and knowledge, but that is not always the case. Sometimes there might be cases where the experts or scientists who have the knowledge about the case, they are just lost somewhere, or maybe even the prosecution or somebody just don't give them the opportunity to contribute. So here are some things that might go wrong when making a decision, or that might be the outcome of a certain decision. We have made a decision in politics that we want to have certain actions are forbidden. They are criminalized. So we need to have a justice system and so forth, and make decision if somebody's guilty or not. But there are so many stages and places where something can go wrong that I can list them all here. But this is just to give some kind of overview what can possibly go wrong, or where our limits as humans and living beings can have an impact on the decision we make.
There's a lot to unpack there, but I hear what you're saying. That's I wanted you to go through it all, because if I interrupted you, I would have taken you off note, and you wouldn't have been able to give the whole thing. And the fact that decision making on a small level in the micro, in our little microcosms, is a big macrocosm of laws, legalities, politics, and it's the structure, it's the web of our lives. It's the cloth and the fibers that we live and breathe on. Humans need to know a path. It doesn't need to be so very specific, but a path. And once they trip and fall over the edges, they need to know, oh, this is not good, back in line. And then there are those that are always on the margins. And that's not right or wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's always going to be people on the margins. And in many cases, we utilize them. Because they're unusual people with unusual talents, and they think unusually. They don't think the straight and narrow. They think along the fringes, and we utilize them. They're innovators. Some of them are criminals, yes, but in many cases they're innovators, etc.
So, I mean, life is very diverse, and you like to have to be able to accept that you have.
Yes.
There are all kinds of people around, and I think we are about 8 billion at the moment on this planet, and that's a huge number, and a lot goes into that number.
But the issue of punishment, the decision to identify a wrong and to punish a wrong is, some people would say, oh, well, yeah, you have to do that. And other people will say, oh, no, you mustn't do that. And I mean, on a smaller scale, when a child does something wrong, you yell at the child, punish the child. And I'm not saying, you smack the child. I'm saying, go up to your room, think about what you've just done. And when, I want to talk to you in 2 hours, and we'll talk about what happened. So you get over the emotion. You hope the child gets over the emotion. And then you can, have a conversation with the child and teach the child something. So as a child, you're doing that. As the child gets older, you're hoping that they begin to utilize that method, that procedure, to calm down and think about what they've done. That's not always the case. That's not always the case.
I mean,
and there's also something that you said that made me think about the conversation between free will and determinism, because you went through all of the things that make us who we are, right? Our
Yeah,
biases,
yeah,
all those things, how, our perception, our beliefs, our
yeah.
attention span, all of these things that make us what we are. And suddenly you're at a point where, am I making a decision, or am I a puppet to my own environment, emotions, past,
I
and
mean, it's all of those. Like you
yes,
cannot
I was going to say
separate.
it's all of those things.
Yeah, you cannot separate them apart. Also one thing that has an impact on your decision making is your personality, and also in your behavior in general. Like what kind of personality are you? Some people are able to make decision just like that. Somebody it may take years, so it's life is very diverse, and every individual is unique. So uh, going back to a bit to the politics and legislation and so rules and whatever. So those are kind of assumptions, desires of us being very rational, to be in full control of our behavior and actions. So I mentioned wishful thinking there in the overthinking section. So we are very gifted, I would say, in setting unrealistic expectations, or we are very ambitious creatures, but sometimes, or often actually, we forget our boundaries, and what we are really capable of doing, and like forgetting this makes a mess.
You know, I often say this, it's so simple that it's complex, or it's, so complex, it's simple.
Yeah.
Either way, it works, uh, uh, why do countries go to war? Like,
Mm,
why does a country go to war? Why in the world would they think, okay, that's it, we're going to do this now, or
mm,
manipulate and strategize and to such an extent that you drive countries into war
yeah.
because of your wishes for whatever. But we do it nonetheless, and
Mm,
we never learn. Never.
yeah, there are a few reasons basically why there's wars. There's power, of course, the fight of resources, and then you have ideologies as the third one. They are usually, these are a combination of these kind of so yeah, it's um, kind of unbelievable that we cannot learn from those mistakes. But also, that is one example of human not being a perfect creature. We make mistakes all the time, and the Human League, in their song "Human," they have concluded this quite well. It goes something like, "I'm only a human, flesh and blood, made and born to make mistakes." So,
I'm just thinking how so totally human the condition is, because every child thinks that their parents have never experienced anything they've experienced.
mm,
The child thinks that everything that they're going through is so unique and so individual that no one ever could ever understand. And
mm,
they're seeking that very understanding. So while they're in their misery of growing up, and it's painful, Let me tell you, we all know that how painful
Yeah.
it is. We at the same time think we're unique, we're so unique, no one will ever understand. And
Mm.
at the same moment, we're seeking that tribe that will understand, that will belong to. At the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, of course, every individual can only see and feel from their perspective, and like they cannot know what others feel, if even though the others have felt the same thing, but they can not know exactly because they don't live in the other person's body, and so uh, we have the limitations, as said, as humans. And one other thing that has been in my mind recently is that we are quite eager in trying to control others, and like and what other people do, and intervene in their lives, advise them and so forth. But uh, I mean, I said there's no right and wrong to be or how to live. So I mean, uh, but if we have a certain belief, we might think that this is the best belief and way to live and be possible. So we want to convince other people of this goodness as well. Or I mean, we want to correct people in the behavior, as just touched the punishment side. But like, I mean, uh, it is funny, like, kind of how much we want to tell other people you should do this, you should be like this, and so forth. I mean,
It's any conversation that we have where
yeah,
I say, "Hi, how are you?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm okay." "Oh, what's
yeah,
happening?" And then you tell me what's happening.
yeah,
Most likely, I'm going to then launch into what's happening with me, or so I ignore what you've just said completely,
yeah,
completely.
yeah,
Or I tell you what you should have done, what you could have done, what I would have done if I, right? So it's the
yeah,
way we it's the way we communicate with
yeah,
others. Instead, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm
mm,
saying that if you were to tell me a sad story or a funny story, whatever, so you tell me how are you, and you tell me a sad story, instead of me saying, "Oh, that's so sad. How are you coping with that?"
yeah,
In other words, talking, bringing you out more as a
mm,
friend, bringing
mm,
you out more. Or isn't that funny? That's so funny. So now what are you going to do? Or whatever the heck it is.
yeah,
Instead of me bringing you out more, I'm now advising you, or I'm launching into my own life. One or the other. So we're both these egos.
yeah. Like, I mean,
It's all about me.
yeah, but I mean, like, precisely on that attitude, or with that attitude, uh, all laws and rules are made. Basically, like, we want to advise people and tell them what to do, and like, I mean, uh, but I mean, that's impossible. That cannot
Yeah.
be done. Like, I mean, we have been trying for a long time, but some rules, they work uh, uh, like somewhat okay, but then there are many rules that doesn't work at all. They just make more conflicts, and like, I mean, the complexity in itself is one. Sorry, is basically against lean also, because like, when you have the more complexity you have in a system, the more uh, points of failure there might be. So uh, according to lean principles, uh, the the simpler you can do something, the better. Basically, it's more robust. They are less points, weak points, or points that can go to failure. So it will the uptime will be greater. So the system will be working most of the time. But if you have a very complex system, it is likely that there will be more downtime. So not the system working.
Spinning wheels, spinning a lot of wheels
Yeah.
for no reason.
Yeah.
So, lean is a philosophy.
Yeah.
And in time, that philosophy blossoms and takes on more decision-making processes whereby the impacts sort of cause and effect, where you got to make a decision, you make it as valuable as possible. The decision has been made, and then the next decision that comes along rides on that decision to some extent. I mean, it's a result of some amount of that, and that keeps happening until there's a lot less clutter. I mean, it's not lack of compassion.
Yeah.
But it becomes somewhat stoic. Becomes somewhat stoic.
Yeah.
Because everything more or less serves a value or becomes extraneous. There's no value in that. You don't throw away friends necessarily. Again, you've got a drinking buddy. Well, if you're going to every Friday night go out, whether it's a cup of coffee that you're having with a friend, or if it's, maybe a drink, a beer, whatever, and it winds you down on a Friday, that's okay until you realize Friday, Saturday, Sunday, now you're drinking on Monday. Wait a minute, this is no good. This is not a friend. Now I'm drinking too much. Then it becomes, I've got to make a decision.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's just meeting friends and, having that dinner with them, maybe it becomes too expensive. Maybe they keep on, upping the ante, and it's like, I can't do this anymore. We can't have these expensive meals every week. So even the smallest things become somewhat of a value. And I've often said, if you have a fight or if you have a disagreement with a good friend, first of all, you don't get to the point where you're, ripping their face off, right? You realize this is a good friend of mine. I have to say some words, but I better be careful because this person has feelings. So you've got compassion, but you feel that you have a disagreement. You have to say something.
Yeah.
So you hope that after you say it, you still got a friendship. If that friend isn't there at the end, they were never a friend. And that's the test of friendship. And that's very raw. That's very raw. I mean, how many people these days have said, I've been canceled by so many people because of so many different things that's going on in life. They're no longer my friends. I said something and they just canceled me. I don't hear from them anymore. They're ghosting me, whatever, right? And I say that's because you've got a lot of people around you, a lot. They're not all your friends. They're associates, they're peers, they're interacting in your life. They're not your friends. They're not going to stick with you thick or thin.
Yeah. And I mean, like, about the arguments, and so, like, it's also, I mean, everybody's different, and so, like, and everybody has a different threshold of tolerance, what they tolerate, and I mean, we are emotional beings, and we can feel, and like words can hurt, like even it's not a physical violence or so, but like because we can understand spoken language and words, they can be maybe even equally hurtful as physical violence for some. I mean, some people have a thicker skin than others.
Right.
So,
But as you know, as people in relationships, you ought to know what their thresholds are, and if
yeah,
you go beyond their threshold, be aware of what you're doing. Right? You know,
yeah, sure.
husbands and wives, anybody in a very close relationship that is experiencing stress together as a unit, right? A family or right. They often pass the threshold, often go over the threshold. And
Yeah.
sometimes that causes divorce, you know, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. And that's unusual, but that's what a true friend, I mean, in many cases, a true friend might feel comfortable to push you a little, push you a little off the edge so that you can walk away and say, why am I so uncomfortable?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And that's good in a decision-making process because
yeah.
sometimes, you don't want them to say, oh, should I make the decision? Yes. Is this a good decision? Yes.
Yeah.
Am I fat? Do I look fat in this dress? No. I mean, the point is you want somebody to say, no, I want you to think about this. And if the person comes back and says, why? Now you're opening up the, the way for somebody to make you feel uncomfortable. And sometimes that's necessary. But, again, with compassion, with empathy, do you say, no, you're fat, that's why you look fat in that dress? Or do you say,
Yeah.
maybe you should be thinking a little bit about your health. Maybe, how do you even do that? A good friend will stick with another good friend or a husband and wife or, any type of a partnership will allow people over the threshold.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like speaking of stress, stress is something that definitely impacts decision making. The more stressed out you are, the closer a state of panic or emergency you are. And if you are very stressed, kind of in panic, then you are a very like in a poor state and position to make good decisions because you are overwhelmed by emotions and to be most specific by hormones. If you are stressed, a lot of cortisol run through your veins when you are very stressed, and you're like running blind, basically. So, not a good state to make good decisions, and especially in the long run, if you have a lot of stress in your life, you can become burnout or like kind of sick. So yeah, you can have stress in a short term, but in long term, you should definitely try to get rid of that if
Yeah.
possible.
It's we all think again. It's again about a tolerance level or some sort of a threshold where, and also perception. So we may
Yeah.
perceive that we're stressed out by the simplest things, right? By somebody mentioning something that we don't agree with, and it causes so
Yeah.
much angst that now we're thrown into a panic.
Yeah.
Somebody has mentioned something, and it just bothers you so much.
Mm.
We all need to be able to calm ourselves down, like I said, to think about it, because the true friends may be there not challenging or testing us in a negative connotation, but presenting us with a mirror image of ourselves saying, this is what you're saying. Does that make sense? And you say, how dare you question me, you know? And now you're emoting, you're getting stressed, but all that they were doing was presenting you with a thought, and maybe not in the most perfect way, because again, we're human. So they may have said something that thrown at our face feels as if it was a threat or a challenge, inappropriate. But perhaps if you go away and think about it, you might be able to translate it from their lip to your mind and say, oh, you know what, there's some wiggle room here. I think I know what they're saying.
Yeah, like, I mean, humans are constantly looking for possible threats. And I mean, sometimes we can also be too cautious. And even though somebody didn't say something as bad as it could have been, or somebody didn't mean to hurt, or so poses a threat, or but like it is hardwired into us that we look out for threats or things that might possibly hurt ourselves. So I mean, but that is just an instinct. There's very little we can do about that. So that is just a part of who we are, and it's not going away anytime soon.
Soon, yeah. So it sounds to me like the most important thing, one of the most important abilities, behaviors that we can have within the realm of decision making is calming down.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I started it out with this concept of procrastination. You don't necessarily need to procrastinate for months, but you do need to put off some decisions for a bit.
Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, I mean, sometimes it is good to let some thoughts simmer for a while. Also, and like it is often said that you should sleep on it. So basically, applying the same concept and not rush, because when you like sit on the thought for a while, it might become more real that you're really making this decision, this change, and your brain has more time to process what you are about to do. So you might become more comfortable in making that decision when you have marinated the thought for a while.
You know, it comes to my mind that in some cases, negotiations force people to make a decision. And one of the strategies in sales is that fear of. If you know, you have to make this now because it's 10% today, and tomorrow we won't have that 10%. What's your decision? And you're like, oh, okay, 10%. Yeah, okay, I'll do it, or whatever. You know, or that. You know, and we should learn that. You know, it's important. Like if you're offered a job, and if they say we need your answer tomorrow, and if you're not able to make a decision in a day, you shouldn't feel like you have to.
Yeah, I mean, like often in marketing and sales, they are using precisely the tactic you mentioned, like 10% off, like, but it's basically about loss aversion. Humans are very loss averse. We don't want to lose anything. We fear of losing things, and it is kind of also related to the crime and punishment, because by punishment, we want to change and modify behavior, but we kind of have all the wish also the wish that we could redo something, or not redo, undo. That's what I was looking for. So reverse time back, but we know that it is not possible in reality. But so yeah, but like loss is like a red flag for us. That's something we want to avoid at basically all costs. More or
But
less.
given lean decision making, lean concept, lean philosophy, you would say, but I don't need this in the first place.
Yeah, sure.
I don't care if it's 50% off. I don't need it.
Yeah, yeah, but that's correct. That's correct. Um,
So that job that they say, oh, well, we need a decision tomorrow, you have to think to yourself, why in the world do they need a decision tomorrow that
yeah.
I'm so,
Mm.
that they won't wait for me
Yeah,
to
I
make a
mean,
decision Monday?
mm, I mean, like in marketing, it says they are using your unconscious system. You have the emotional side of your brain of thinking, and they are targeting that because that's harder to control. You can control that less than you can your so-called conscious mind or system to uh, uh, which actually was invented by Kahneman. System one is the unconscious, and system two is the conscious part of your brain. So, but yeah, like in marketing, and so they use all kinds of tactics to get you to buy something. So I
Or
mean,
make a decision. Or,
yeah,
just do something.
yeah,
Just do something. And, it's very much, the, the commercial at 3 o'clock in the morning
yeah,
that gets you buying the most ridiculous stuff because you're in that frame of mind where, I need that, I need
yeah,
that teeter totter. I need to be upside down because
yeah,
it's like, it's really important that I hang out upside down. God intended me to be a bat, and I need to.
yeah,
It's just unusual decision making that we really just need to
mm,
learn to at least give it an hour, for goodness sake, at least.
mm,
And those decisions that must be made: should I go or should I stay? And in an hour, it's moot. The
yeah,
plane is leaving now. Should I get on the plane or not?
yeah,
Um, um,
yeah.
those
I mean,
decisions.
yeah.
That's part of life as well. Those things, sometimes you need to make, bam, a decision. Hopefully, we can train ourselves over time to be able to make those quick decisions, the right decision.
Yeah, like I mean, reasoning is very closely tied to decision making. I mean, but it's also funny when you think about human reasoning and like what reasons we can find or invent to support our decision. And like very often the reasons or the reasoning we give, they are just nonsense. Basically, like I mean, yeah, we have made a decision first, then we kind of up with the reasons afterwards
We
to like
validate
kind
it.
of
We
make
validate the reason.
sense of the whole. And
Yeah, we're very interesting. We're very interesting. Humans are very interesting. It's very true because many times we've already made the decision and everything either validates it or supports why we said no.
yeah,
One or the other. One or the other.
yeah. I mean, this is basically politics is all about this that you make the decision first, then you find the reasons, or like I mean, to support your view, or so you just like if you cannot find any hard data or so, you just use your imagination.
Make shit up.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
here's here's what this all comes down to. Decision making is a skill that all of us need to learn, and awareness of that may become uncomfortable. In other words, I'm aware I'm making a decision, so I need to set the table appropriately. I need to calm
Yeah.
down, perhaps ask a few friends, maybe get out a piece of paper and write down pros and cons. There are a number of things that you could do when
Yeah,
it's
like
time to
that.
make a decision. Becoming
Mm.
aware of that is very important.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the modern times, we have the communication technology, we have the internet, and there's rarely a case where there's like yeah, you can have a case where you have too little of knowledge and information, but like I mean, there in the world in general, there's lots of information available. But I mean, I think one of the worst things you can do when you're making a decision is not to do any research. Uh, like you should have good quality data or information uh, to back up your decision. Okay, it makes it easier to make the decision. It makes you feel more confident, comfortable of taking that decision action. It reduces your risk of coming across some harmful things. And guesswork is guesswork. It's lottery. So and when you are guessing, you're kind of going with your instincts, gut feeling also. Might
Sometimes it works, but not all the time. Not all the time.
No, and I mean can work in smaller decision, but if you have a big decision ahead of you, then I would not trust your gut on its own. Uh, or any kind of intuition either, because intuition is kind of got I guess or a
Sometimes it's working on memories. This
yeah
happened
yeah
before,
yeah
so I think I'm ready for this, and it may or may not be true, because
yeah
it may or you're perceiving it to be similar to an experience, and in fact,
Mhm.
you may be wrong. It's not similar at
Yeah.
all.
I mean, like humans use a lot of a thing called heretics. It's based on your experiences and memories that are similar to the case at hand. So that's in other words, it is called a what's it called? Like a good guess or something that you base on your experience and memory and knowledge and so forth. But that may still lead you into a ditch.
It's part of the process. It seems to
Yeah.
me the decision making. Well, the lean philosophy is very serviceable. I mean, it's worth everyone considering. And then
Mm.
perhaps utilizing. And it is a responsibility. So we can attend to our lives as if every day is just a new day. And we go ahead and make all these decisions based upon, well, tomorrow's another day. We could do that, and a lot of people do. And this,
Yeah.
this is not necessarily good, bad, but I'm merely saying that lean
Mm.
decision making and lean philosophy serves a purpose in life, and it may
Mm.
the exercise may help people more or less become more comfortable in who they are, know their boundaries, be able to
Yeah. Mm.
experience relationships in a in a more uh, in a better environment, or through a better lens.
Mm.
There may there may just be so many benefits to thinking lean and working the philosophy into their lives.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
Do you think?
the future is unpredictable. There is always uncertainty in the future. So, like, no matter how well you plan your decision or do the research and so, you can never be entirely sure what tomorrow brings. Okay, the sun is probably going to come up in the sky, maybe show itself if there's no clouds in the way. But like, I mean, uncertainty is part of life, and we 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 live in the moment. We cannot live in the past. We have lived in the past, but we cannot live in the future. We can only live at this precise moment. And I mean, that's part of being alive, part of life, and it is one aspect or part of the limitations we have in life, and so that is important to keep in mind, that there may come surprises in your way, and you cannot control everything around you or in the world. Even you cannot control everything in yourself. You cannot control everything that you do. You cannot stop your heart beating by will, for example. So that is important to keep in mind, that if you know this, you are aware of this, you can prepare yourself also when you take action, you make a change, a decision, and so you are prepared if something unexpected happens. So this is one part of making good decisions and ensuring your own well-being, or organizations or so. So and I mean, if I think about the lean and the principles in that philosophy, the system, if you have a system that is made or built with the lean philosophy in mind, then the goal is to make that system kind of bulletproof, so that it fails as little as possible. So that can mean that you try to predict the future. You decrease the risks of its failures. So basically, if you can reduce risks as much as possible, by all means do that. You can sleep a little bit better your nights.
Matt, how can people find you on the internet?
I can be found on my LinkedIn profile. I have also a website, but that is only in Finnish at the moment. So yeah, those are my two primary channels. I'm not that active on other social media, so
I will include your LinkedIn URL in the notes below.
yeah.
It was great talking with you. You know, obviously we could go on talking forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, and like you can also find my website link on my LinkedIn profile if you are interested.
Okay, very good. I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. And that's a wrap. Right, Lucy?
Yeah.
All right. So I stopped it, so it's not recording. So I hope you're